Before Nara became a nurse comforting others, before her hands learned how to hold pain gently, Nara was just a girl who once had a home filled with laughter. Her parents were simple people who lived in a small town surrounded by hills and red earth. Her father fixed broken radios. Her mother sold fruits by the roadside. Life was small but happy. But Nara was different from the beginning. She never cried, not when she was born, not when she fell, not even when her mother scolded her. The doctors said it was strange. They tapped her feet. She blinked, but made no sound. Her mother whispered that maybe she was too strong for tears, and her father smiled and called her their quiet star. She grew up that way, quiet, steady, never showing too much. People admired her calmness, but sometimes it made others uneasy. Other children cried when they were hurt, but Nara only looked at her wounds as if she were studying something far away. Then came the night that ended everything. Her parents were driving back home from a wedding. It had rained, and the road was slick. The car slid off the bend and into a shallow valley. By the time help came, Nara's parents were gone. She sat in the wreckage, her hands muddy, her face blank, her eyes dry. She didn't scream, she didn't weep. She only stared at the lights flashing in the rain. Her aunt, a quiet woman who worked in a small clinic, took her in. The woman did her best, but she had her own struggles. Nara learned early to keep things to herself. She swept the house, cooked meals, and read old medical books her aunts left on the table. Her silence became part of her skin, something she no longer noticed. Years passed. When she turned 19, she moved to the city to train as a nurse. She wanted to help people because that was the only thing that ever made her feel something close to warmth. She worked in a government hospital where nights were long and cries never stopped. Mothers wept for children, families prayed in corners, and pain lived in every hallway. People said Nara was brave, calm, unshaken. They didn't know that nothing could shake her because she felt almost nothing. She smiled when needed, comforted patients gently, but her eyes stayed dry even when others broke down beside her. One evening, she met a man named Tayo. He was a young doctor, kind and always laughing. He noticed how quiet she was and often teased her for never showing emotion. He said she looked like the world could end and she'd still stay calm. Somehow, he stayed. His laughter filled her small life with color again. They married quietly one morning under a mango tree near the hospital compound. He held her hand tightly when he made his vows, and though she smiled, a small part of her wondered what it felt like to cry on a day of joy. But still, no tears came. For years, they walked side by side. They saved lives, lost some too, and shared a small home filled with books and laughter. Tayo often said that when they had a baby, maybe Nara would finally cry out of happiness. She would only shake her head and laugh softly. Then one night, everything changed. Tayo fell sick. It started as fever, but worsened fast. He grew weak and pale. Nara did everything she knew, medicine, drips, prayers, but nothing helped. The night he died, she sat by his bedside, holding his cold hand, her eyes dry once again. People gathered, wept, and hugged her, but she did not cry. She only whispered his name until her voice disappeared. Months passed. The world became gray again. She went back to the hospital, quieter than ever. But something inside her had begun to shift, a slow ache that would not leave. Then one day, she discovered she was pregnant. The news hit her like sunlight breaking through a storm. For the first time, she smiled not because she wanted to, but because she couldn't help it. She began to talk to her belly, as if Tayo could hear through the walls of the world. She told stories, sang softly, and promised that the child would know love, the kind that never fades. When the time came, the pain of labor tore through her body like fire. The nurses told her to push. She did, again and again. Sweat drenched her skin. Her breath came in gasps, but still, not a single tear fell. And then, the cry of a baby filled the room. They placed the small, wriggling life in her arms. The baby's skin was warm, soft, alive. Nara stared at the tiny face, the trembling mouth, the eyes that blinked open for the first time. Something broke inside her, something she had held back since birth. Her chest heaved, her throat burned. Then the tears came, slow at first, then faster, spilling down her cheeks. She wept for her parents, for Tayo, for every pain she had swallowed, and for the miracle she held in her arms. The nurses watched in silence, not understanding the weight of that moment. They only saw a mother crying for her newborn. But for Nara, it was the first time she had ever truly felt the full breath of life, its joy and its grief together. When the crying stopped, she kissed her child's forehead and whispered, "You made me human." From that day, Nara was no longer the girl who never cried. She became a woman who had finally learned that tears were not weakness, they were proof she was alive. And when her daughter grew and asked why people cry, Nara smiled and said, "Because sometimes joy and pain live in the same heart, and the only way to let them meet is to let them fall."